Writing. Warning disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction. All names, characters, and events are purely imaginary and created for storytelling purposes. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. Too busy for Christmas, until a mechanic and his little girl repaired the CEO's heart. The snow had just begun to fall when Ethan Caldwell's black sedan rolled to a stop on the side of the quiet country road. Ethan, the CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the state, glanced impatiently at his watch. Christmas Eve was only hours away, but his mind wasn't on Christmas. It was on numbers, contracts, quarterly growth. His phone buzzed again. Another email, another problem. Perfect, he muttered as the car engine coughed and died completely. The road was nearly empty, the nearest town miles away. Ethan stepped out of the car, his expensive shoes crunching into the snow. He pulled his coat tighter and looked around. That's when he noticed a small, dimly lit garage about 100 yards down the road. A crooked wooden sign hung above the door. Miller's Auto Repair. The place looked old, the kind of shop that had probably been there for decades. Ethan sighed and walked toward it. Inside, the garage smelled of oil, metal, and something warm cooking nearby. A middle-aged mechanic wiped his hands on a rag as Ethan entered. "Evening," the man said with a friendly smile. "Car trouble?" "Yes," Ethan replied shortly. "Engine died." "No problem. I'll take a look." The mechanic grabbed his coat and followed Ethan outside. Within minutes he had the hood open, shining a flashlight into the engine. "Battery connection's loose," the mechanic said. "Cold weather probably did it. Can you fix it quickly?" Ethan asked. The man chuckled softly. "Sir, fixing cars quickly is kind of my job." 10 minutes later, the engine purred back to life. Ethan nodded. "Good. Send me the bill." But before the mechanic could answer, a small voice came from the garage doorway. "Daddy." A little girl in a red coat ran out into the snow, holding something carefully in her hands. "Emma, honey, it's freezing," the mechanic said gently. "I know," she said proudly. "But I made cookies." She walked up to Ethan and held out a small paper plate with 2 slightly lopsided Christmas cookies. "They're for customers," she explained. Ethan stared at the cookies. He couldn't remember the last time anyone had given him something without expecting something in return. "Oh, thank you," he said awkwardly. Emma beamed. "Daddy says Christmas is about giving," she said. "Even when we don't have a lot." The mechanic smiled softly but looked a little embarrassed. Ethan noticed the worn-out gloves on the man's hands. The patched jacket. The tiny garage that probably barely paid the bills. Yet they were giving cookies away. Inside the garage, a small radio played quiet Christmas music. A modest tree stood in the corner decorated with handmade ornaments. Emma carefully placed another cookie on a plate. "Daddy," she whispered, "do you think Santa can find us this year?" The mechanic paused for a moment before answering. "Santa always finds good hearts," he said gently. Ethan felt something strange in his chest. He suddenly remembered being a kid himself, before boardrooms, investors, and endless meetings. Before Christmas became just another date on the calendar. "Sir," the mechanic said, "that'll be $20. Ethan blinked. "20. For the repair." Ethan almost laughed. The man had fixed a luxury car in freezing weather on Christmas Eve, for $20. Ethan reached into his wallet and pulled out a $100 bill. The mechanic shook his head. "Too much. Keep it," Ethan insisted. But the mechanic pushed it back. "20's fair." Emma looked between them curiously. Ethan slowly placed the 100 back in his wallet and handed over the 20. But as he turned to leave, he noticed something on the wall. A piece of paper taped beside the tree. At the top, written in crayon, "Christmas wish list." Below it were only 3 things. Warm winter boots for Daddy. More tools for the garage. A bike if Santa has extra. Ethan swallowed hard. He walked outside and sat in his car for a long moment, staring at the falling snow. All year he had chased profit, growth, expansion. Yet in that tiny garage was something his skyscraper office didn't have. Heart. An hour later, a large delivery truck pulled up outside Miller's Auto Repair. The mechanic stepped out in confusion. Inside the truck were a brand new professional tool set, a box with warm winter boots, a shiny red bicycle with a bow, and an envelope. Inside was a simple note. "Thank you for fixing more than my car tonight. A grateful customer." Across the road, Ethan's car slowly drove away. For the first time in years, he turned off his phone. And for the first time in years, he was finally ready to go home for Christmas. The end. 1500 WAD.